Right, me, Mike.
No way.
You don't have to wait, you know my name. Sunshine and rain, some things don't change. Thinking about the days we were younger. Innocent in our ways, we were dumb, girl. But nothing really mattered, I could always count on you. Your touch will leave me breathless, so let me give it back to you. I could always count on you. I could always count on you. Don't have to wait, you know my name. Sunshine and rain, some things don't change. Thinking about the days we were younger. Innocent in our ways, we were dumb, girl. When nothing really mattered, I could always count on you. Your touch will leave me breathless, so let me give it back to you. I could always count on you. I could always count on you.
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? I know it's been a long week, but I just wanted to say, uh, we're in final season. It's the finals, and not high school
Finally.
finals, NBA finals, the good ones. Jackson, if you could get us started, if you could just talk about some stuff real quick about the finals, I gotta type something out.
Yeah. So the
If you want to shout
the
here, if you
series.
want to shout out your podcast that you just started.
Sure, we can go ahead and do that. Recently, actually, as in recently, yesterday, started a new podcast. You can listen to it on Spotify, Castbox, and let me check to see what other platforms it's on. So I'm still trying to get accepted onto other platforms. It's an hour-long segment a week, uh, basic, just about the Royals. So if you only care about the Royals, that uh, could be something you'd like to watch. So yeah, we're on Spreaker, Spotify, and Castbox. All three of those are apps. So if you want to listen to that, um, you're more than welcome to. It's a good time. It's very accessible. And
Sorry,
if John's still doing something, or not John, Josh, I will continue talking until he is finished.
I'm about done.
All right. Well, if you've been living under a rock, the NBA Finals is 1-1 right now. They split in Toronto. Steph Curry played like an average bench player in the second half of game two, but Quinn Cook carried him. And yeah, the Warriors even.
All right, yeah. So we're gonna start off from there. Warriors Raptors tied 1-1. Let's get right into it. KD's out for Game 3. How crucial is that, Jackson?
Well, I mean, it's pretty crucial because uh, you know Clay's not feeling. Clay isn't right. I don't know what the specific injury is, but Clay's hurt. Iguodala is an old man, and Steph is. You can't count on him to show up in the finals when it matters the most because that's when he turns into Matthew Dellavedova. So they really did need KD, and I feel like if the Raptors can't win this, shame on them because all the cards are in their favor, and it's basically the Raptors versus old folks team at this point, basically an MRI team versus the Raptors.
Which
So,
you thought you would never hear with the Warriors.
but I mean, they've been very good without Kevin Durant. They've only lost one game uh, without him. So the Warriors fans could really care less about that aspect. They've been winning just as well as they were with him. It's really going to come down to can Kawhi Leonard actually show up like he did in the Eastern Conference playoffs, or are we going to get the Kawhi Leonard of the first two games of this series that's been very inefficient.
Yeah. All right. Well, what I do want to say is if you guys have anything you want to say, please call in. The link is down below. But I do think this is really crucial. The good thing is it's at home, so it's not as crucial as KD being out for another game that is in Toronto. You have the home crowd to have a little bit, I don't know, like patching that up a little bit, but I mean, it can't cover everything. But something I want to talk about, we have a lot to talk about the finals. I have a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Iguodala says he wants to help Curry's legacy. Why not? Why do you want to help? Would you rather want to help Curry's legacy or build your own legacy?
Well, at this point, he's so old that he doesn't have a lot of time to really build a legacy, and he knows he's not as special as a player as Steph. So he really, at this point, knows he can only contribute to the legacy of Steph's more than build his own. Although he's a very crucial piece in that Warriors team, people don't really give him the credit he deserves. It's crazy. He's got more Finals MVPs than Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. I mean, it's just absolutely wild to think about that. But Iguodala's been that veteran force. I gotta be honest with you, watching how hurt he's been, I think this might be the last go around for Iguodala.
Really?
I mean, he's getting to that age where it's just.
But when you're on this team, you don't want to leave.
I mean, that's very true, but
pull a Nick Young and barely play any.
Well, the difference is they actually kind of need Andre Iguodala to play. I mean, even though his
MVP.
stats,
I think he's the most forgotten in Finals MVP.
I mean, he doesn't have the most outstanding statistics, but I mean, you saw that 3-pointer he just nailed to put the dagger in the hearts of the Raptors in Game 2. It's hard to replace that. I mean, the clutch gene Iguodala has is just unmatched, and his defense goes underappreciated.
All right, next thing. First 2 games, Drake sitting courtside. Drake gets in a scuffle in Game 1.
Which he didn't start. I think that's notable. That was Draymond starting it.
Game 2, I don't really know what happened. I was at work.
Game 2,
he was pretty quiet, I'd guess, because
he didn't get in a scuffle, but then afterwards the Warriors tried to act tough and said, like, where are you at, Aubrey? Or something like that. And it was just like, it was pretty cringy, but, you know.
Okay, but going back to the Eastern Conference Finals with Drake giving the coach the back massage, Drake taking Steph Curry's hair lint, is Drake going too far?
No, I think this actually helps the NBA a little bit because of the just fan interaction. I think Drake has made it more interesting. Drake's honestly the most interesting part of Toronto in Toronto's history, pretty much. I mean, the Raptors haven't had an NBA Finals of Drake being this guy's. I mean, you can't say that him taking a piece of lint from Curry's hair and then selling it on eBay with the username Draymond shouldn't wear 23 isn't funny. And then where the hoodie he wore in Game 2, where the guy in Home Alone where it said Kevin with a bunch of question marks. I mean, that was hilarious too. So I think he's hilarious. But the one problem I do have a little beef with it. You can't have a tattoo of Steph Curry and Kevin Durant and then talk all this crap on them. Like, you have a tattoo of them. You literally have one that says 35 sniper. You can't root against these guys. Like, I know you want to root for your team, but you can't talk trash on these guys. They're literally tatted on you. Like,
they're not leaving your life.
That's an L, bro. I mean, you don't get the Warriors tatted on you, bro. And that just shows how big of a bandwagon Drake really is.
All right, and now Klay went down Game 2, going back to MRIs, grade 2 hamstring, and did I see it as probable or questionable for Game 3?
I mean, I think regardless, to be honest, Klay's never missed a playoff game, so I really, really doubt he'll miss an NBA Finals.
It's a grade 2 hamstring, so it's like, why even risk it? I feel like that was going to hurt the team more than him playing.
I feel like, though, he said, at least I heard this, that last year it hurt worse. His injury he got, I don't know if you remember when
JR?
Yeah, JR ran into him, hit that injury. He said hurt worse than this one has. So we'll see. I mean, listen, if you're telling me that we're going to see a team with Steph Curry with his made-up illness to make his terrible play look. Draymond Green and DeMarcus Cousins. No, I mean Clay is so important to that, and I mean, I don't think they can afford to lose Clay. That's the thing. I don't think they can afford for Clay Thompson not to. I think if they want to win this series, Clay Thompson has to play every single game.
I would agree 100% on that.
And I
But
think, and I mean, I even think he's more valuable to the team than Durant. I mean that
I
not.
don't agree with that.
I don't think he's a better player, but I think he's more valuable to them because Clay Thompson is like the best catch and shoot player of all time. I mean, Steph Curry draws the defense in. Clay Thompson nails it every time. Kevin Durant's good, but he's not the shooter that Clay Thompson is.
But KD's KD. You need a KD on your team.
The only reason they would specifically need him for this series is height, because Toronto is kind of bullying them with the height. But then you saw the emotional lesbian DeMarcus Cousins um, got back in and was actually playing pretty well in Game 2, which kind of shows how soft that Kevin Durant's pretty soft because the dude literally has a cap, and Cousins literally had a quad tear and he's already back. So that kind of shows the determination of, and I don't want to say that anybody, is soft in the NBA because in reality they would all beat the hell out of me. But I mean, you're Kevin Durant. You're considered by a lot of people now to be the greatest player on the planet. Sitting out finals games with an injury that it's not the end of the world. I mean, you could play. That doesn't look good for you. And if they
doesn't want to hurt himself going into free agency, because then teams are going to be worried.
Are you kidding me though? I mean, if Kevin Durant gets hurt going into free agency, I feel like there's certain players that regardless of their health status heading into the offseason, unless it's like cancer or something.
Jesus, all right, we took a turn.
Well, I'm just saying, the first thing I came to my mind was Bosch because of his blood clots and stuff. Understand the scenario I'm talking about here: a basketball injury, not like a life-threatening one. But I think that there's players like LeBron, Kawhi, Steph, KD that, regardless of the injury they have, could still get the max in free agency. I feel like if Steph hit the free agent market right now with a torn ACL, I guarantee you there would be plenty of teams offering him the max contract they could. And so I feel like even if KD gets hurt a little more, I mean, he has to fear the torn Achilles. That's what he has to be fearing right now, which is, in his situation, smart because he's probably going to go to another team next year and he wants to play. He doesn't, a lot of people have already considered him checked out of Golden State. But man, if they go on to win this series and you don't play, your legacy takes a fat hit.
Well, it's either going to that's going to happen to one of these players, KD or Kawhi.
Well, I think this hurts Kawhi's legacy a lot if they lose the series without Kevin Durant.
Okay, what I was saying is, I thought you were talking about if they win this series and then just leaves.
No, I think regardless. I mean, if they win this series and Kevin Durant doesn't play a single minute, that looks horrible for Kevin Durant. I mean, I don't think there's any way to get around that. You can't be the best player on the planet and have your team win a championship without you. But then on the flip side, if Kevin Durant doesn't play and the Warriors win, what does that look like for Kawhi? Because you're considered the best player in the East right now. And if you can't beat a Warriors team that's this banged up, that doesn't look good on you either. So I think that there's a lot of variables for legacies that are going to be solved in these next couple of weeks.
All right.
Who do you think hurts more if the Warriors win a championship without Durant, KD or Kawhi?
Who do you think it hurts more?
Whose legacy do you think it hits more?
Kawhi's?
Kawhi's
No,
really.
no, it's KD. KD.
Yeah, I'd say KD because
because it's showing that the Warriors don't need him, which they don't. They've done it 2 times with
everyone.
him.
The majority of people have already come to the assumption that they don't need him, even got hurt, and this is just proving it even more. We knew this Warriors team was good enough to win a NBA championship without him, and they're showing it right now. I mean, this is insane.
I would agree. So, another thing I want to talk about. Boogie being back, is this a good thing or bad thing? It showed that it was good in Game 2, but I don't know if it was good in Game 1.
Yeah, I think he eased himself back into the lineup in game one, which, I mean, after a quad tear, you can't expect a man to be really 100% ready to go. But I mean, in game two, they don't win that game without Boogie. I'm just saying he really, really played well. And that's in that game. He rebounding, scoring. I mean, the thing I said that Golden State needed the most was height in this series, and him coming back was so critical. But I do honestly think, I do honestly think that fits their offense a little better right now. Unfortunately, Looney got a shoulder injury in game two, I believe. But Looney's faster, and I don't know. I feel like he's been there longer, fits the pace better. That's just from my eyes watching. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, Boogie in game two was such a beast. I mean, to put up, it's nothing crazy to only put up 11 points and 10 rebounds, but in the grand scheme of things, it is because those offensive rebounds and second chance opportunities that the Warriors get typically are what kills other teams. And in game one, I mean, he had 20 less minutes than he did in game two. I mean, that's crazy. And he only had 3 points in game one and only had he actually didn't have a rebound in game. You take a look at that, and then you look at game two. It's hard to say the Warriors would have won game two without Boogie.
I mean, anyone would say that after seeing what kind of performance they had and how close the game was.
Yeah, I mean, he was such an impact player.
Just going into the second half of game two, the Warriors the Raptors allowed Golden State to go on an 18-0 run. What do the Warriors need, or what do the Raptors need to do for that not to happen again in game three?
Well, I think a lot of it.
The Warriors are a third quarter team. If you can hold them in the third quarter, you're gonna win. If you let them go on a run, like we saw in game two, and I'm gonna go all the way back to last year in the Western Conference Finals, in game 6 and 7, that's when they killed you the most.
That's their quarter. I mean, they come out of the locker room and just suck the life out of you. But I think the biggest thing they need to do is just take better shots. I think there were so many times on that run that the Raptors just forced up a shot early in the shot clock that they shouldn't have, which led to a long rebound and then Golden State getting an easy bucket. And it's hard once a team goes on a big run. You want to be the guy to make the shot to end the run, or you feel more urgent to score because the run is getting out of hand. And the more pressure that's put on your offense, the worse it is for the confidence of your shot. And it was just a terrible run. I mean, we're looking at that run. I mean, people are like an 18-0 run. That's insane. How does a team in the NBA Finals allow an 18-0 run? But Golden State is just so good. They do it so many times to teams. You see it. It's not just the finals. It's every team they've played in this entire they continue to go on these 10-0, 15-0, and then 18-0 runs that just kill teams because they have unbelievable shooting. And Draymond and the defensive core for Golden State does not get enough credit. They shut down players in the second half.
All right. Well, I mean, pretty much sums up all that for finals. I don't think we missed much.
We can do predictions the rest of the way because I don't even know if we did that to start.
Well, yeah, I know. I said Warriors in 7.
I think I said Warriors in 6.
6. You said 6.
Maybe. I picked Golden State. I still feel comfortable in that. But
tomorrow's going to be a big game. Game 3 and Game 5 are the biggest game of the series, unless it's Game 7. Game 5 is the biggest game of the series.
I mean, yeah, I'd argue the winner of tomorrow or the loser of tomorrow night's game, if they don't win Game 4 and go down 3-1, either side, it's over. So I'd say Game
dip. It's only happened once, but I mean the Warriors were the one team that allowed it.
I would say though, I'm saying you said Game 5 and 7. I'd say Game 4 is even more critical for a team, regardless of who's going to win this third game. I think for Toronto, they better win Game 3 because if they're down 2-1 in game with Kevin Durant potentially coming back in Oracle, that is a disaster. You see how hard it is to win in Oracle, and now with your backs against the wall, knowing you absolutely have to win the game, I mean, that would be very bad for you. I think Game 3 is the biggest for Toronto. I feel like because if you're down 2-1 in Golden State, that's so much pressure, man. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. But let's talk about the Royals. Royals select Bobby Witt Jr. out of high school. I think that was a really good selection.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's the first time we've had a top 10 pick since 2013 when we selected Hunter Dozier, number 8 overall. So
And he's turning out decent. But that brings me in my next question.
let's do it.
Bobby's out of high school. Would you rather take the risk of getting a high school player or take the pretty much developed college player
Well, I think in this
with the
circumstance,
second pick?
yeah, I think in this circumstance, I'd go with the high school player mainly because he's so good. I think another thing is the years you're going to have now. I mean, if you draft a college guy, it's more of a 21-year-old, 22-year-old kid. Bobby Witt's 18. So, I mean, or maybe 19. I don't know what he is yet. But regardless, I mean, you have a kid that just out of high school, younger, so your rebuild, you don't have to feel a little more urgency. And you look at last year, we took a lot of college pitch, and so those guys are going to be up quicker. But Bobby Witt, I mean, he's so talented. I don't think you have to look at it at college or high school. I think you ought to look at it as just who's the best player available, regardless of where they're at. I mean, we've seen it plenty of times where the high school works out, like with Trout, with Harper. I mean, I feel like it was a player that you couldn't let slip past you. I saw something that said that the Royals scouts are like the Royals didn't miss a single inning that Witt
No, they
played this
watched
year.
every single inning
Yeah.
that he's played since he was 14.
Yeah, so I mean, if you've paid that much attention to one guy and you're sold, I mean, you got to do it regardless of the situation.
I mean, I would agree with that, but
I saw a lot of people saying what it means for Mondesi. What do you think it means for Mondesi's
this
future?
dude's 18. He won't be in the league till next year. I get Mondesi's 23. You look at Witt. He's already 30 to 31. Witt only has like 4 more years.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby can develop in the minors for 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And then that one last year, either you can trade away Witt, which I don't want to see happen. But it's gonna be interesting. They also and Witt can play right field, which we've seen a lot. And they said Bobby has the ability to switch positions. So I would think they would put him in second base. So you could have Bobby play second base in 2 to 3 years, and Witt play right, and Monty play shortstop, and Witt and Monty or Bobby and Bobby Monty will become a really good duo right there.
Yeah, I mean that's
Mondesi would be what, 25?
Depending on when Witt comes up. I expect Witt up next year at the end of the year probably. High picks typically do that. I know Bregman was taken in 2015. I think he was up by 17. Pretty sure he was taken second overall, and then like Chris Bryant taken second overall in 2013, and I know he was on the 2016 roster that won the Cubs the World Series. So, and the 2015 for that. So number 2 picks typically get up a little quicker. I mean, we haven't had a guy picked that high since 2007 with Moustakas. So it's be interesting. I'm excited to see the kid play, and I agree with you. I don't think it really means anything for Mondesi's future, but
they're gonna keep Monty at short.
Yeah, I agree. But it is interesting. You brought up Witt. I would not be shocked if they traded Witt this year at the deadline.
I would.
Or the thing is, I know we just signed him, but that also helps his trade value.
Yeah,
For a team knowing that you have 3 more. Yeah, exactly. So it really helps another team realizing that you have a really small contract for the next 3 years for a guy that's very valuable. And Kansas City's let it be known that their players are up for grabs. I would say Soler will probably be gone at the deadline.
No, Soler. I like Soler.
Well, I mean, what's going to happen after next year? Because we're not going to be competitive in 2020, and then his contract ends. And
we could be competitive in 2020.
No, it's not going to happen.
We could be a 500 team in 2020. How about that?
Yeah, we tried to say that about this year, and that didn't. So
okay, well, I don't see us being terrible for 3 years straight.
I mean, why? We were terrible for 30 years straight, basically. So it's possible. I mean, I just think that Soler's not going to re-sign with the Royals. He has no reason to. He doesn't. I don't think he even likes it here. But besides the fact he's a power hitter, and this is not the place you want to hit if you're a power hitter. So I think that might influence his free agent decision. But I mean, who knows? And I really don't know anybody else that's up for grabs. I mean, maybe you could trade Diekman at the deadline. You know,
Kennedy is going to be really good.
nobody wants Kennedy.
If he keeps what he's been doing up.
Not with that you're gonna have to eat a fat amount of that contract then, because nobody is paying Kennedy $20 million to pitch 1 inning. That's not happening. So, regardless of how good he pitches, nobody's taking that contract. And then, you could try and trade Boxberger. I doubt you could. I mean, it'd be nice. And maybe like Homer Bailey. I doubt anyone wants him. But I think Diekman is a realistic possibility. You could get a below average / average prospect out of that. But I mean, I think that's the entire reason they brought those guys in anyway. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Remember last June we traded Kelvin, so we might jump the gun a little early.
Who knows? Last thing I want to talk about tonight, it's a short podcast. When there's only 2 people in here, it goes pretty quick. But I want to talk about Andrew McCutchen, out for the season with a torn ACL. Even though the Phillies got Jay Bruce, do they need to get yet another outfielder?
That's a tough one.
They did call up their number 3 overall prospect.
I mean, I think they're going to have to see how it goes. I don't on the Phillies outfield. I mean, I know Jay Bruce doesn't play left field like that. McCutchen was playing left field. I doubt Jay Bruce plays left field. At least I haven't seen him do it. Even if he does, he's not. He isn't as, what do you want to say, as fast, as good defensively. But, that's not the huge thing. Jay Bruce does have a decent bat. It's gonna be interesting. It's a team that's lost 5 in a row. I doubt they make a decision right now, to be honest. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I know I got a lot of heat for picking the Phillies to come in 4th. Kind of rooting against the Phillies so I can be right. But yeah, that division, there's really only one team that can catch them, in my opinion. That's Atlanta. So, I mean, losing McCutchen hurts, but I mean, I don't think it's going to kill them, to be honest. I think they're still good enough to win that.
Yeah. Anyway, that's really going to...
Hold on. I feel like there's something I wanted to talk about because I remember there was something I wanted to talk about that I didn't. And go ahead and state your opinion on the Andrew McCutchen thing.
I think they definitely need to go out for another outfielder without a doubt. Without McCutchen was doing pretty good this year. So I would say it's pretty much needed.
I think since we're technically, I don't even know if we're at a midway point. But anyways, before the trade deadline, I guess we'll do an early June prediction. Who do you have? You've seen it kind of a little bit, about 60 games in. Who do you have coming out of each league, the American and National, to go to the World Series right now?
The Yankees and Dodgers.
Is that your preseason pick?
Yeah, and I will stick with it.
I had the Yankees and Cardinals as my preseason prediction, and that doesn't look too hot right now. The Yankees aren't bad, but the Cardinals played pretty bad in May. So if I had to guess right now, I'd probably say Dodgers, Yankees. I agree with you. I honestly think the Dodgers are the best team in baseball right now. I don't think there's a team that has as much depth as they do. I think the only thing that the Yankees have that they don't is an elite bullpen. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. But I think the American League playoffs are going to be so good compared to years past. You look at Minnesota,
Minnesota, I don't see them
they're going to win the Central, I bet. I mean, if they don't,
if they win, I still don't see them being great.
Do you see how good their offense is, though?
Jackson, who are they going up against? The Tigers, the Royals.
They just took. Okay, in our division, yes, but I mean, they just took 3 of 4 in Tampa, which is, I mean, Tampa's a good squad. I mean, we'll have to see, but 40-18, I don't care who you're playing, 40-18 is a very good mark. I mean, they beat the Astros in a series. I mean, they're a good squad, and then of course you have to think of Houston. I mean, the Astros aren't just going to roll over in the postseason. That's going to be. I really hope we get Yankees Astros in the postseason. That would be a great series. I mean, and think about this: the Astros are like 40-20, and Altuve, Correa, and Springer aren't even that. I know for a fact Altuve and Correa aren't healthy. I knew Springer wasn't in the lineup last night when I was watching. So that's a scary thought. But then you look at the Yankees; they don't have Judge or Stanton, or Severino for that matter. So it's the American League's really hot. I kind of have to agree with you on this that I don't know, but if there's another National League team that can really top the Dodgers, uh, although I still do believe in the Brewers a little bit. Uh, we'll see how that goes down the stretch. I like Milwaukee because of Moose and Kane. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes down the stretch. Again, we're not even that far into the season yet, but it's just something interesting to look.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this podcast. We will see you guys on
Go my Giants. James said, "Go my Giants." San Francisco Giants. I'm sorry to hear that. They play
That's
just like.
Yeah, it's crazy what 5 years does.
Dude, 5 years ago, we were the top of the MLB, man.
But yeah, James, hope
Thanks
to see
for
you in our
tuning
next
in, everybody.
podcast. We just hope to see you guys whenever our next podcast is.
Should be this